pre-show.
Konnichiwa. Thank you for having us. Thanks for joining us. If you're on YouTube, thanks for watching YouTube.
Thanks for watching YouTube. And thanks for all those that listen to us, too. We always forget.
People actually
Majority of the people that listen to this podcast do not watch it. We always get, always get bogged down by YouTube and YouTube comments and everything. Like, we just got to remember that most of the people are listening. So thank you for listening as well.
So, like on Podbean? Spotify?
Yeah, on Podbean, Spotify.
Yeah.
Most of them are actually Spotify and iTunes.
Sick. So for the people that are watching, Jordan is
dead, unfortunately. We just
R.I.P. We're bigger and better things.
Jordan is performing live as we speak. He does plan on coming back, but our guess is by the time he comes back, we will be finishing the pod.
Yeah.
But I think he'll do the up late.
He will. He will.
He may as well if he's here.
He'll do the up late. There's a very good chance that there's a couple of mates that are at the show that will try to hunt him down and annoy him. So he'll probably be late, but he'll make the up late for sure.
But doesn't he have that COVID excuse to get the fuck out of there real quick?
You haven't met our high school friends.
Oh, shit. Yeah, he'll be stuck there.
They don't give a shit.
We probably wouldn't even be able to do up late with him.
Nah, we will.
Because his high school friends, as if they're going to...
There's like two. He'll be fine. But the important thing is, thanks for joining us. We love you. It feels like it's been a while.
Yeah, it
has been a while, actually, because we were in...
No, it was last week.
We did Adelaide. Yeah, that's been a long week. Shout out to everyone in Adelaide.
Because you went to Adelaide. Everything seems a lot longer when you're traveling.
Yeah, it was a lot longer. Yeah.
But thanks for joining us. For those people that were asking, because I included a pre-show extract for the last episode, and so people that were asking, why don't you just do the extract live? It's like, no, it's paid.
Yeah.
Or it can be free if you watch it live on Twitch, but become a patron and watch the entire thing.
That's what. So Mr. Falsty just said, how do we see the up late? Join Patreon. Yeah. Silly buffer.
And also, people who the last upplay that we did, we received really, really interesting comments. I read all of them. I'm going to make Jordan and Miss Lowe.
I'm going to be reading them tonight because sometimes we go deep and meaningful, and it was one of those ones.
It was too deep. It was just the frame of mind that we were in before we started recording it.
That's all that matters.
But people laid their lives bare. Awesome. A lot of them were saying it's the best episode ever.
Fuck!
Which really tells me that people just want to hear
real conversations.
Not just real conversation, because we're always having real conversation, but really deep inner dialogues that you have with yourself.
Yeah.
And that can't be done on the podcast anyway. So join the up late and become a patron.
Broaden or AU. I don't know how people don't know this. Up late is audio only. Yes, it's just audio only.
Is
for
audio
now.
Only.
For now, right? No, forever. It's forever. It's easier.
Look,
it's
not
easier.
everything has to be video.
Exactly.
It's literally a conversation, and it's not particularly a show.
No, it's not a show. It's not a show.
None of us are thinking about audience numbers and stuff on that.
It's a conversation.
But anyways, let's start with the pod.
Let's do it.
A lot of the pre-show comments were talk about Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah, I'm scared.
Have you been following the news?
Sort of. The last I saw was that wasn't there some sort of peace deal? I saw the president. I saw them shake hands.
They agreed in principle to not a peace deal, but to have a conversation, which they weren't doing before.
Well, that's pretty good.
But this is something, go back to the first episode, the podcast that we did where we did talk about Ukraine and Russia, and I said that something like this is probably going to happen, which is Russia has officially recognized two sort of rogue provinces of Ukraine.
Right.
Which neighbor Russia.
Mongolia.
It's in the Dome region, but
Domkang region.
I don't know the Russian name, but these are basically areas in Ukraine that already have a large Russian population. In fact, a majority Russian population, and they've sort of always been pro-Russia. It's the Western Ukraine side which has this beef with Russia at the moment. So these are the places that already had a stronghold.
Yep.
And to be fair, Ukraine's sovereignty in these areas was pretty limited. It's like WA. Is it even Australia? But you know, it's one of those places that
it tends to go like that, like Berlin Wall. Am I right?
Yeah, but this is big news. So they've officially recognized it. Look, there's a lot of stuff that's happening over here. There's a whole host of different players that are giving out different views on what's currently happening. It's really hard to trust any of them. So if you look at it from the U.S. intelligence community at the moment is saying that Russia's definitely invading Ukraine. And this is just a precursor of them to invade the rest of the Ukraine. That, I think, is also part of U.S.'s negotiation tactic, saying that we are preparing for the worst, which means if you come in and take it, it'll be met by an equal force.
Yeah.
Right? My whole thing is that if Russia really wanted to completely invade Ukraine, they wouldn't be stalling it for 3 months.
No.
They would do it as like a snap thing before you even knew it, just like they did with Crimea. But either way, I think maybe the reason why Russia would have done this, because this is somewhat a big deal, I think the negotiations weren't going anywhere. I think from the U.S., Russia was probably getting the view that the U.S. thinks it's a bluff, which I also agree with the U.S. It was a bluff. Mm-hmm. But Russia was like, okay, how do we scare them to think that this isn't a bluff and we mean business? Which is why I think they did this bit, which is officially recognizing parts of Ukraine, these 2 provinces.
But that's like a good move, right? I mean, as in for stability.
It's a bad move for stability because you're basically
great.
You're eroding the status quo. So stability means keep everything the way it is.
But
don't mess around too much.
But haven't they acknowledged? My brain saying Belarus. What the hell's wrong with my brain? I don't know why it's saying that.
Have they acknowledged Belarus?
No, I don't know why it's saying Belarus. Have they acknowledged Ukraine? Parts of Ukraine as being Ukraine?
No, they have always recognized Ukraine as Ukraine, but parts of Ukraine they have recognized as independent new countries.
And they're
which
Russian,
are sympathetic to Russia.
Oh,
obviously.
shit, so it's actually not a good move.
It's not a good move, but it's not the worst move. It sounds a lot worse than it is because these are the areas where the Ukrainian or the Americans never had writ anyways.
Right.
So it's like claiming your backyard in a way.
Yeah.
Even though all of Ukraine, you could argue, is their backyard, but this is their immediate backyard, which comes within their boundary walls as well. So it's like telling people that this thing that you already know is mine is definitely mine now.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is a bit.
I mean, I know I'm not like Russia equals evil. I'm not like saying it's even that kind of binary fucking thing. I'm just opting. You just want stability. But I understand, as we were saying in the last part, I understand Russia's perspective of like, you have this many soldiers, this many military bases like on our border, and it's like geopolitical, strategies. It's the opposite of a simple. It's not good versus bad. Like this isn't the Cold War anymore.
It's what Noam Chomsky, to his credit again,
shout out,
has been talking about this exact issue for the last 8 years.
Really?
When people didn't even think that this was going to be an issue. He was saying, this is how I first found out about it too. He was saying that this is around Obama years, that the maneuvers that U.S. military is doing in Ukraine with their jets and their military personnel is really putting Europe at risk of a war. Because from that point...
Russia's flex.
U.S.'s flex at the time. So look, from this was what the U.S. thought of the situation at the time.
Yeah.
They felt that around the time when Russia started using force against ISIS, backing Assad in Syria, there was this whole perception in the media that Russia's really strong and it's doing what the U.S. couldn't do. Because the U.S. was looked at as like a force that was unsuccessful in the Middle East, whether it be like Afghanistan, Iraq,
basically all of it,
all of it, right? And then Russia was with backing Assad in Syria, was bombing ISIS and causing some real damage. So the entire sort of global community or media community was saying like Russia is really getting strong, which was untrue. And the Obama administration was saying like this is all just hype. They're killing a bunch of whatever, like these ISIS militants from aerial bombarding. You think we can't do that with our F-35, fucking the greatest technology, which they're right about. Like their jets and their military capabilities is amazing. So they just didn't have the backing of the government at the time, which Assad had.
Yeah.
Right? In every case, whether it be like Afghanistan or Iraq, America was going against the established government. In fact, breaking it down and putting in a new one, which is much harder to do compared to there's a rebellion in your country, back the government, and you crush the rebellion. Much easier to do. So Russia was doing that successfully, and the U.S. was unable to do it because in most cases they were usually trying to topple over the government. Yeah. Either way, the Obama administration sort of became insecure that this is sending the wrong message, and their argument was that Russia is a weak economy. This is around the time when Crimea was done and Obama administration sanctioned Russia. And so they're like, their economy is weak. Their government is unstable. It's nowhere near the height of Russia or Soviet Union's like capabilities during the peak of Cold War. They just have an oversized military, which they're flexing on towel heads and
He's allowed to say it.
Yeah. So this was Obama's opinion, which wasn't completely untrue, but a bit overstretching it. So the way they sort of compensated that was by showing aggression to Putin in Ukraine, saying like, all right, let's deal with the big dogs here. It's one thing to go beat ISIS, but like you really think you're that strong and you're talking shit about us on these platforms like Davos and the United Nations? Let me tell you what I'm made up of. And their version of making up was increasing presence in Ukraine, doing joint military exercises, stationing nuclear or like threatening to station nuclear warheads in Ukraine. This was considered by Russia as too much. This is like, wait. It's one thing to compete in places like Vietnam and Syria, but when you bring nuclear warheads to Ukraine, which is right next to me, you're telling me that you're in for a fight. Yeah. Which the Russians were like, we wouldn't want to go at war with you, but if you're going to bring it right to us, we would have no option but to do it.
And this is like 2000.
This is around 2015. Yeah. They actually had a pact as well around this time when the situation worsened. But the resolution of that was, from the Russian perspective, they were looking at it as like, this is unacceptable. We're willing to die for this, but do we want to wage a war with the U.S. over this? And their calculus was probably not. We'll just put diplomatic pressure on it. If there's any skirmishes in Ukraine, we'll fight with our rebel forces. In fact, the areas that are now perceived to be independent by Russian were the stronghold that they were using to fight against the Ukrainians or Western Ukrainians. Yeah. And so they were going about it that way. And it all sort of changed around mid-Trump presidency, where I think from Russian perspective, it was like, they called us the basket case, and we might have been, but the U.S. is currently a basket case. It's an extremely divided society. They're retreating. They've lost in Iraq and the Middle East. So the global perception is that the U.S. is a declining force. If we want to really challenge U.S. on Ukraine, this is the time. Hit the hammer while it's hot.
Trump.
Right? Post-Trump. Just current. Because this is how the inner workings of the political system work. Let's say the U.S. decides to go to war. From Russia's perspective, they think that there's enough division within the U.S. that this policy wouldn't be completely backed by everyone in the society, which means that there would be people within the army and the bureaucracy that would think that it's not such a good idea to go to war with Russia. And they wouldn't be wrong, because even when Russia was bombing ISIS and the U.S. was saying that Russia is reprehensible and they're backing this monstrous regime of Assad, a lot of people, whether it be on media, in politics, or in the bureaucracy, were openly saying, let them do this. This is in our interest. Russia isn't such a bad guy.
To sort of fracture
No,
them?
to say that U.S., we don't want ISIS either.
All right.
If they're bombing ISIS, that's good.
Yeah, right.
Right? So they were saying, so within the Russian intelligence agencies and their government apparatus, they were like, holy shit. Even if, let's say these people are right and we shouldn't be going to war, this is bad because people within are questioning the state, the narrative of how we want to do about it. So, and Russia saw that too. And Russia, okay, irrespective of whether Russia influenced Hillary v. Trump election.
I don't know about, I think there's proof that they did. They definitely, have you seen the film The Social Dilemma?
Yeah, I have, but I don't think that they did. I think Trump would have been elected irrespective of the Russians.
I don't think either, but I think there's definitely some like Russian hackers that just stir up the pot on social media.
There's hackers in Russia. There's actually a huge hacker economy in Russia.
Really?
It's the question, in my opinion, is whether it's a state tool that they use,
or is it just
something similar to like Pablo Escobar sending narcotics to the U.S. and challenging their government kind of thing, right? Is it something from the Wild West Russia that is being tolerated by their government, or is it a tool of Russia to do all of this for generate money revenue? We'll see about that, but I have my doubts about the official U.S. version or the intelligence version of it. Either way, whatever happens, the Russian government has felt that this is a good time. It's dead.
Sorry, bro. Go on.
This is a good time to stir up this issue, and we might get like a favorable deal out of this.
Yeah.
I don't think they want to have a fight just yet.
Do you think Russia is more unified than America, even though it's considered like a dictatorship?
America is one of the most divided countries in the world at the moment. From the big countries, or the countries of people.
Why is that the case?
Well, this is something that needs a whole podcast on its own. It's like, why did Trump get elected? How come no one could tell that Trump was going to get elected?
I think the Trump thing...
Why did the January 6th episode happen? Did people within the institutions...
You mean storming?
Yeah, storming of the Capitol Hill. Were people within the institution that were sympathetic to it? How did they even make it all the way inside? There's a whole host of questions that come, and we probably should do a whole episode on why America's so divided. But either way, I think it's a general fact that they are divided.
Yeah, for sure.
And Russia's straight up trying to exploit that.
Yeah, exactly.
And
China too, I would imagine. Probably China less.
Funnily enough, China, there's a whole thing about... This is why Russia, I don't think, are going to invade Ukraine, because they don't have China's backing. There's a whole host of reasons. China has, at this point, has been somewhat silent on this entire debate.
Probably for the best.
The U.S. is looking at China to say something about it. Say that you're with Russia, so we now can have two-pronged approach. So we deal with you and Russia. Or if you're with us, then we want that to happen as well, so that we can put added pressure on Russia to back down. Now, the question is, why are Chinese silent about it?
Well, it's in their interest to be silent about it.
Why do you think it's in their interest?
Because it's like Switzerland in World War II, right? Be neutral.
Well, there's two big reasons why China isn't overtly supporting Russia in this. One of the reasons is that China is fucking petrified of provinces declaring independence, because they don't want that to happen to Taiwan. They don't want that to happen to Xinjiang with the Uyghur population. So anytime there is some sort of an independence movement, a province is declaring sovereignty, China's always anti that, just as a matter of principle, because they feel if we support this now, it's going to come back to us and bite us on the ass. So there's that pragmatic reason. The other reason is that during the Cold War, Russia and China became enemies at one point. And China wasn't as developed then. So the way they sort of were modernizing their military post the Soviet collapse was with the help of Ukrainian military expertise. So one of the things that was happening with the Soviet Union was that a lot of their military expertise and their military advancements actually came from Ukraine, which was a big military hub for the Russians. So when the Soviet Union collapsed...
So you're saying they're sympathetic to Ukraine?
Well, not only are they sympathetic to Ukraine, they developed their military with the help of Ukrainians.
So they feel like responsible?
They still have those ties. There's massive joint ventures between Chinese arms manufacturing and Ukrainian arm manufacturing.
I did not know that. I did not know that.
If they go against Ukraine, they're actually going against their long-term business partners.
Shit. Why? That's crazy. Why would Ukraine be... Why would, wouldn't Russia be the military might? Why would Ukraine have, military expertise?
Because Ukraine used to be part of Russia, and a lot of the military installations, whether it be right or wrong, were just there. It's like saying
that's hard for Russia. Russia, right?
It's somewhat similar to WA at some point declares independence, and Singapore has a deal with WA about coal mining expertise, and you're like, how the hell does WA have all these expertise?
It
just happened. It's not even just closer. They just happen to have, for a whole host of reasons. Maybe their geography was better suited to it, which in Ukraine's case it was. Ukraine also is the crossroads to enter into Russia, so it made sense for the Soviet Union to keep Ukraine as this. It was their flank. It was keep all the forces over there, so we can beat this issue before it even comes to Moscow.
If those Romanians think of invading,
or the Germans, or the French, or the U.S., or the Brits, so for a whole host of reasons, Ukraine has that. And from Ukraine's perspective, once the Soviet Union collapsed, they were open for business. So they were willing to sell any expertise that anyone wanted.
Interesting.
And China was a big customer for them.
That's fucking fun. That's crazy.
So China has been some silent over this issue completely. Which is why I think this is an added issue for Russia, because I do not think that Russia is going to invade Ukraine completely and wage war against Europe without the backing of China. I don't think it would make strategic sense for them to do it.
Yeah, I don't. As if they're going to wage war against Europe. I know Europe stands with America.
The question is, let's say Russia invades Ukraine.
Yeah.
Now, even though U.S. is not obligated by any treaty because Ukraine isn't part of NATO, let's say the U.S. decides to go to war with Russia over it, right? Now this puts Europe in this precarious situation.
Yeah.
They have to side with something. The Europeans, the last thing that they want is a war with Russia for one massive reason. First of all, this war is going to be devastating. It's going to impact every European country. It's going to cause huge migration crisis, human rights abuses. It's like when there's an issue in Iraq, Syria will get affected. The second issue is Russia supplies a lot of gas to Europe, particularly Germany.
Really?
Now, the problem with gas is this is becoming even more of an issue because with the climate change accords, and everyone talking about being net zero by 2050, in the short term, one of the ways that most of these countries are looking to reduce their emissions is by firstly changing their electricity supply from coal and oil to gas.
Shit.
So if, let's say, Russia blocks the gas supply to Germany,
lights out in Berlin,
you're talking about food shortages in Europe.
Food shortages.
Yeah, because everything is when electricity.
Yeah,
you can talk. There was a stupid virus in fucking Wuhan.
Yeah,
and our Woolworths and Coles were empty for the longest time.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
These things have a huge chain effect.
Shit.
So Europe does not want to fight a war.
Yeah,
the U.S. is currently displaying that they're still the biggest superpower, the biggest thug in the area. And they have their ways of pressurizing or even forcing countries that are under their patronage or their global umbrella, countries like Australia, England, France, to say that, no, you don't have the option to not fight in this. You're going to have to fight with us. You're with us or against us.
Jeez.
The U.S. does this all the time.
Yeah. You think old man Biden might have cooled his jets. It's funny that Trump seemed to have the least interventionist policy apart from that bombing that he did on some guy in Syria or something.
This is bound to happen, man. What's happening is the U.S.'s power is declining.
And there's freaking
People
out.
like us are talking about how the U.S. power is declining. That is very annoying to the U.S. military industrial complex and the military machinery that U.S. represents, because they're like, who the fuck are these two to even say that we're declining? I'm going to prove to them that we're not declining. How do I prove to them? Hey, Russia, I'm going to fuck with you in Ukraine, and you can't do shit about it.
Yeah.
We're the largest, we're an economic power, we're a military power. We'll fucking crush everyone. Shit. And they're waiting for something to happen that showcases to the world that this whole talk about declining power is bullshit. They're still the biggest show in town.
Yeah, I mean, that might be the case, but it's like it's a dangerous game, eh?
That's why people like the general population should be shit scared, because it's a dangerous game.
Yeah,
it can also lead to wars, and then there's a power struggle where the U.S. is going to fight the Russians, and the Russians are going to fight the U.S. Both of them are going to force other countries to switch sides, and this is all a cock measuring contest to prove that U.S. still has the biggest. The question isn't whether Russia is more powerful than the U.S. The question is the U.S. still as powerful as it was 40 years ago? That's the question. And so they're going to battle it out to determine that, if that ever happens.
You really... I thought about, like, after the Cold War, I always thought Russia and America were like, it was almost like becoming chummy. You know, they got what's his name? The drunk Russian guy? The drunk president? Boris Yeltsin.
Yeah.
I thought it was all, you know, they're all good. And now it's like, really? Russia and the States are once again at each other? It's like, quit living in the past, man.
Quit. But actually, that's also one of the... It's the same thing that happened in Russia. So when the Soviet Union collapsed...
Yeah.
Russia was like in no position to exert their influence or show their powers. They were, without firing a bullet, they had lost a war, right?
Yeah.
So they were sitting over there like open ducks, and they were saying, all right, U.S., you've won. Whatever this game was, you won overwhelmingly. What the fuck do you want us to do now?
Yeah.
And the U.S. said, all your oil companies, all of that, we're going to have massive stakes in it.
Right.
Right? It's all, at the end of the day, it's all economic power.
Yeah.
It's like our companies get to invest in your country and reap the rewards.
Yeah.
Right? You get basically a stake in your national resources. And how do you do that? First of all, privatize everything. All of these industries, this is what U.S. telling Russia, all of these industries that you've built over the years, privatize it all. And they did that, which led to these big, massive oligarchs in Russia that controlled everything. And they became, because it was set in the same Soviet model, where like it's a really authoritarian country, irrespective of whether it's a democracy or... That's just how they... Which is why most of their history, they've always had dictators. Like, people say, why isn't Russia a democracy? My question is, when the fuck was it a democracy?
Right.
Like, give me one example. Oh, this was a time when it was a perfect... It never was. Their culture is just different.
Yeah.
They want a strong man.
People. A tough people.
A tough people. And a tough people that like centralized power. Because they feel like if they don't have centralized power, all of these periphery places... start demanding too much and want to call for independence.
Right.
Which is exactly, by the way, what happened when the Soviet Union dissolved.
Yeah.
Russia was divided. Places like Ukraine ceased to be Russia and became independent countries.
Yeah.
Which proves the Russian thing. It was like, as soon as the power isn't centralized and Moscow isn't calling the shots, there's so many breakaways that we lose half of our country.
It does.
So, and we need a strong man that can put everyone in check.
Right.
That was their view after the Soviet Union collapsed, they just couldn't do anything about it because they were too weak.
Yeah.
So their country was run by oligarchs. The government power sort of diminished. Private capital became big.
Like pseudo dictators, but like private interests.
Basically a cartel. A cartel started running the country as opposed to the sort of KGB and the Communist Party.
Yeah.
When Putin, around 2009, 2008, when he came back into power, he was of the opinion that we got a shit deal.
Yeah.
We got fucked over. And the way we stopped getting fucked over is we rebuild our army. We again start opposing U.S. We cut off all of their interests. And also, one of the things that he did was put the oligarchs or the cartel in check. And so he would openly embarrass them, took away really dictatorial things that a lot of us would be like, well, you can't do this. But that's just the Russian way. And he did that. And so then the U.S. went back and was like, okay, Russia is not our friend anymore again. And to the point where like now in 2022.
So that's when it starts. So it was Putin and
it was actually Putin. But Putin,
understand, like,
and one of the things that happened as a result of Putin saying that we got the short end of the stick and we're going to militarize again and we're going to rebuild everything, throw away the Americans, he got widespread Russian support. Because people in Russia...
But there is a lot of hate for Putin in Russia too.
The question, like my opinion is that it's a minority. It's in fact the periphery minority. I think most Russians at this point support Putin.
Right, okay.
Particularly after his assault on ISIS. His approval ratings went off the roof. And the U.S. would say that that's all like fake polls and fake news. I don't think that's fake news at all. I think that's legit. Most Russians really like Putin. There's a reason why that motherfucker's been in power for that long.
But isn't that because he's just president for life kind of thing? Self-imposed?
But president for life, if Putin decides I'm the president for life, it wouldn't work. What he needs is...
Public support,
bureaucracy support, because they'll get rid of him.
Yeah.
If he's not... He isn't Stalin. You could argue that at one point Stalin was in a situation where he really could decide the trajectory of his country. Putin is saying what I think a lot of his countrymen feel, a lot of his business interests feel, that this is the way we go about it. Because you think about it, Russia has always been a regional power. They've never been under they've always had this thing with Western Europe, whether it be Germany, France, whoever was big at the time. If it was Napoleon, it was France. If it was like Hitler, it was Germany. Russia is a regional power, and these places are regional power. So like they're always going to be because their national interests are different.
Oh yeah. So what you're saying is the infrastructure.
You cannot tame Russia. You cannot make Russia your lackey, which the U.S. attempted to do.
Well, yeah, and you could say the same for China in that there are sweeping cultural and geopolitical and political differences. Like China, like I watched that speech by that English professor, expert on China. Even from like the generally speaking, racial monotony and cultural this idea of like one people and one overall narrative to unite. It's just a different style of running a country, and it's like not everyone can be America.
Yeah, and that is one of the big problems of the U.S. Sort of ideological system. There's nothing wrong with it. I prefer the American system over the Chinese or the Russians in many ways. But one of the big problems of the American system is that it's evangelical. It wants everyone else to be them.
That's a good word. I like that, evangelical.
It's the same thing. You meet...
What's the definition of evangelical? Doesn't that just mean like believer?
Believer, but also evangelical...
Ideologue.
They feel that it's their religious duty to convert everyone to their version of Christianity because that's the only way they'll survive the total damnation of hell. So in their mind, they're really nice people. What they're really doing... You could
say the same for like the Middle East, right? Oh, for any major...
Yeah, there's a lot.
But they don't have the power of...
They don't have the power to actually exercise
it.
Yeah. And there are differences even within the Middle East where certain ideologies are evangelical, but some of them aren't.
But isn't Russia a heavily religious country as well? Evangelical?
Yeah, they are. I'm not talking about in terms of religious. I'm talking about the political structure. So I'm talking about the
okay, sorry.
The word evangelical I'm using...
Yeah, you're saying in terms of... politically, that's
America likes to export its system.
Yeah.
They feel comfortable when you operate in exactly the same way or with minor differences.
Yeah, I got you. Like Australia, really, let's be honest.
Well, we don't have an option because, again, I mean, I'm not saying that Australian sort of culture is similar to the U.S. culture, right? It's all come from Great Britain. So, like, we're really similar. So, it's like, we like it as well. Like, we wouldn't want to go into a Chinese dictatorship model. What I'm saying is that the U.S. likes everyone, including China, Russia, to be a democracy.
Yeah.
Which is fucked up.
Yeah.
Which is why the point that you were talking about that the Chinese professor was talking about the differences in the system.
Yeah, the complete
and how
differences.
the Chinese one works for China.
Yeah.
I think which a lot of Westerners and Americans are afraid of because they have an evangelical approach to their political system. They think that China does too, where they think that if we're not in power, not only are they not a democracy, but we're not a democracy because they'll force us.
Well, it's what Jordan,
just like we did with others.
Exactly. It's what Jordan says about on that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but America, the idea that America is an empire of war and China is an empire of infrastructure.
Well, that's a factor of their economies.
Yeah,
that's true, but
like, what is your take on that? Do you think China would have the American evangelical style of forcing their sort of? I'm just asking.
It depends what you consider it to be. So, this is brutal fact. China thinks that all maritime trade that happens in the South China Sea, which includes areas that are not theirs. These include shores of the Philippines. They include shores of Japan. They include a lot of these different countries. Mm-hmm. China thinks it's all theirs.
Right.
They think they've got the power to do it, which, by the way, is not too different from the U.S.
Yeah.
The Pacific Ocean belongs to the U.S. It doesn't belong to Colombia. It doesn't belong to Mexico.
Right. You're right. Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
and if Mexico was like, no, this is ours, you know what China's going to do?
America.
Kick them in the, kick them in the ass.
Yeah.
So this is what great powers do in their area. America does it without much challenge. China feels the same way about South China Sea. All of it. You can disagree. I don't think that's a very good solution because there's a lot of countries over there that are afraid of it, but that's how they feel it.
Sure.
Second thing is they feel Taiwan's theirs.
Yeah.
They feel Taiwan was an anomaly of history. It's something that happened when we were too weak to take over it. It happened. It was. They feel that that this was an era of history that we're going to correct. Throughout the civilization of China, thousands of years, that part of the world was Chinese.
Right.
Whatever China was at the time, whether it be the Ming Dynasty, whatever it was. But they feel that either way, that's theirs.
Yeah.
So if someone says Taiwan isn't yours, Taiwan is an autonomous, independent country that has their own. They can have their own military. They can have their own economy. China thinks that that's threatening, right? Now, does that mean that China wants to take over the U.S.? No, China does not consider the realm of the Pacific and not East Pacific. For example, China does not think that Atlantic belongs to them, the Atlantic Ocean, the area between Europe and America. America thinks everything belongs to them. China does not think that. Now, the question for us Australians is we, unfortunately or fortunately, happen to be in China's backyard. So the question for us, I think, is that China does not think that Australia is theirs. They don't want to invade Australia, take it over. But you know what China does want? It's like, what is a given is like,
they want trade.
You need to be neutral. Well, that's, from their perspective, that's like a treat that they give us for following their line. But China wants Australia not to side with the U.S. In this, doesn't mean that they want Australia to side with China. They're saying that you need to be neutral. We, on the other hand, look at America as our trusted ally and all that stuff. And for the last 70 years, U.S. has ensured our security. The reason why Australian ships were comfortable traveling all over the oceans, going to Japan, dropping off the goods, and not afraid that something bad's going to go down.
Military might.
Yeah, it was.
No, we knew that
it was America. The U.S. was going to back us. If something went down, the U.S. is going to do it.
It was just a bad joke being like, our fleet can take you on. How many ships do you have? 36.
Not even, dude. Like 2.
Yeah, I understand.
But either way,
so
the China wants that.
Yeah.
And we happen to be in China's sort of realm of influence.
Yeah.
A country like the Britain, if they say we're with the U.S., it's an annoyance for China. It's like, that sucks because Britain is a big country. It's got good military power. It's got a big economy. We wish they were with us, but
it's all the way up
there. It is what it is. Obviously Britain is going to side with the U.S. If France does it, they feel the same.
Yeah.
If Australia does it, they're threatened. They're like, oh, okay, look, Australia doesn't have that option because we are so close to them. If we went with US, we could cause China a lot of damage. So
right.
There's a whole. I've explained it before, but like north of Australia is very strategic to block off a lot of trade for China, which is going to cripple them.
See, I forget all the way down here. I always forget that we're close. Like whenever I look at the map, I'm like, yeah, we're tucked down here. No, it's all fine, but it is close.
It's particularly north, like Darwin is a city that could do a lot of damage to China.
Darwin.
If the US was to take over it.
Yeah.
So China says, we won't take over it, but US doesn't get to take over it either.
Is that a possibility? And I'm not talking about with the libs. I'm saying
it's a new world. Now we are entering the uncharted territory.
Why? Because the election.
The question is, can Australia actually be neutral considering our biggest celebrity is Russell Crowe and Hugh Jackman, who are Hollywood. Like, we're too integrated with the U.S., is what I'm trying to say. We are so close to the U.S. that this is like, we don't know any other reality where we're not with them. Yeah. Who are we going to go with? China? Like, we like the fact that you've got money, but dude, we don't know anything about you. Yeah. You could royally fuck us over in the future.
Yeah.
Who knows what you're going to do? At least we know U.S. We know it's... Australian diplomats will tell you that we know U.S. is a fucking... horrible. It can be a horrible player. It can like mess places. Dude, Australia never wanted to go to Vietnam. Australia never thought that Iraq was a good idea. But they had to because there was no other option. So the question for Australia is, what is the next 50 years looking like? At this point, we've sided with the US and we're saying, bring it on to China. We'll see how that goes.
Seems as if globally the reasonably extensive period of peace is coming to an end.
It is. We're moving towards some really uncertain future. The difference can be, so now the nuance is within Australian political establishment. So now you've got the Liberal Party and people like Peter Dutton that feel that if China was to aggressively take over Taiwan, Australia will fight a war with the US against China. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And that is extremely threatening for China. That means, all right, this is a coalition now. So we're going to be fighting with you and the US. That's what that means. Because Taiwan is ours. That's like saying that freaking Alice Springs is not yours. It's a different country. Like from their perspective, it's that. So like that's now the Labour position is more nuanced. Labour's position is, obviously, we're going to have to be with the U.S. There's so much. However, we can tell China, comfort them that your core interests, we're not going to fuck with. So if you take over Taiwan, we're going to say that that's a bad move. You're a bad player. You shouldn't be doing this. But would we go to war with you? Probably not. Now, but if you start taking over Papua New Guinea, then you bet your ass we're going to war with you as well. So Labour would be very happy to say that.
Seems more
once you start coming into our area and start taking over our land, then we're at a hostile track. Labour is saying, at the moment, we don't have to. Do you want to take over Papua New Guinea? China's saying, no. Okay, then we're... But they say that you want to take over Taiwan. So Labour's like, okay, bad move, but we're not going to go to war over that.
Yeah, seems a lot more nuanced.
So we'll see the battle of ideas, which is why even this election has become so China focused. Which partly has to do with, I think this was a bad move by Scott Morrison, and he's gonna pay for this because what's happened is, okay, this is open and I can talk about it because Jordan isn't here. I'm gonna lay the fucking facts bare.
Boom.
Right? China looks at Labour Party as a better option than the Liberal Party to come into power for the reasons that I've told you. Yeah. It's they're not on their payroll. It's not like the communist government is paying the Labour Party. No. From China's perspective, if I was sitting there and if I was a Chinese diplomat, I'd be like, I want Labour to win because that is leading to a path where I'm not fighting a coalition with the Australia and the US and in the near future. So I'd rather the Labour win. So now what the intelligence community Australian intelligence community has gone up to the government and said, China thinks that Labour is a better option. Now, the way they're trying to make this happen is that they want influence within the parties, whether it be Liberal or Labour. They want influence in both parties, but they feel that Labour is more conducive to Chinese positions.
Right.
So they are trying to sneak in a few people within the state apparatus covertly, whether it be Liberal or Labour, but more so Labour.
Right.
And so the intelligence community has gone to Scott Morrison and has said that. And Scott Morrison's like, wait, 1 second. Can you repeat that? Are you saying that China wants Labour to win and they are funding activities to infiltrate that? And the intelligence community is like, we're not saying they're infiltrating. We're saying that they're going to try to buy influence.
In both sides.
In both sides, but mainly Labour, because they feel that that's a better outcome for them. And Scott Morrison's like, bingo.
Yeah.
And he goes to the press, because he's already losing in polls. He goes like, China is backing Labour.
Yeah, I knew it was going to come.
And you know why? Because this is a calculated strategy from his end, because he knows if shit goes bad, if let's say there's a commission and they're like, these are extreme accusations, can you prove to me why you're saying this? And China's going to be, and Scott Morrison's going to be like, ask the ASIO chief.
That's already happening. That's already happening.
And now the ASIO chief, or like these intelligence committees, are freaking out. It's like, that's not what we're saying, dickhead. We were telling you from like an Australian perspective that this is a problem.
Right.
You're heavily politicizing this.
Yeah.
And now my ass is going to be online.
Shit. So because they could do a royal commission to the ASIO.
Yeah, because then ASIO is going to be like, what are you doing? You're influencing elections here. And ASIO, and they're like, no, we don't want to do that. Like, so they have come out publicly and said, Scott Morrison is politicizing this issue.
Is that really what's happened?
They're covering their ass.
Is that really what happened?
Yeah.
Wow.
They're covering their ass because they're like, they don't want this, because Labour isn't, it's not like the Labour is getting paid by them, or Labour is actively looking to pursue Chinese interests. They're looking to pursue Australian interests that happen in some areas to coincide with Chinese interests.
Yeah.
There's a difference here.
Yeah.
So if you're accusing Labour
I understand
of being a lackey of China, you've
big
got to
call.
have some evidence.
Yeah, it's a big call, yeah.
And Scott Morrison's evidence is, the ASIO chief told me, and ASIO's chief's thing is, Scott Morrison is fucking politicizing it and he's lying. So I think this is going to eventually backfire on ScoMo.
Holy shit.
But we'll...
God, it's just plays out of a... It reads out of a playbook, a rule book. It's like, okay, now we make these particular accusations about China and their relations to Labour. Like, they're both the colour red. That should swing most of it. You know, it's just like standard, and it's definitely going to affect, you know, my mum and my... Like, they're going to be like...
I don't think so. I mean, maybe it affects your mum, because your mum clearly has a very anti-commie perspective.
Yeah.
But I think, and this is my guess, again, I might be wrong about this, I think that the Australian public will see through this bullshit. It's also like coincides where Scott Morrison has no other option. This is his last. He's using his ACE
When's
card.
the election?
We don't know, but it could be anywhere between March and May.
Okay.
So we'll have to see when it's called. I think Morrison is waiting for the right moment. Here's another thing. Do you know what Scott Morrison secretly is fucking kicking himself about?
That ACA interview.
That too. But he is pissed off, and this is, again, I don't have evidence for this, but if I was Scott Morrison and I was applying his strategy, this would be annoying for me. All of international news coverage is currently on Ukraine and Russia, right? Everyone is concerned. Right now, Russia is the evil demon for the world. From Australia's perspective, we don't care about that as much because it's too far away. For us, we care about China. And China isn't backing Russia at this point. They're silent.
Yeah.
So from Scott Morrison's perspective, that's a fucking tragedy.
Oh, because
think of it from his perspective.
Yeah.
If China was backing Russia, there's almost a war breaking out in Europe.
Yeah.
He could tell the electorate or the public, look at that. Labour is talking about negotiating with China, and China is taking over Europe. We're next.
Yeah.
But he can't do that because China isn't doing that. So he's fucking kicking himself. Do you know what he's doing?
What?
He came out with a new thing just today saying that China pointed a laser pen at us. Literally.
What?
He is saying that one of the submarines or some infrastructure was, they put like a laser, you know, those like gun laser or something. They put like a laser on one of the submarines or something. And that is absolutely reprehensible. And China needs to pay for this. from Morrison's perspective, he wants the media to be reporting on China all the time.
Yeah.
And the media, unfortunately for him, is reporting on Russia at the moment.
Yeah.
So he really wants the attention to come back to China so he can paint labor as bad.
Isn't it insane when you break down the effect of the media? When you really talk about it, even for 1 second, this is for me, maybe not for you. Well, you would know it like deeply anyway, but call it the propaganda model, call it just the influence of the media, the power it has in shifting the dialogue and the narrative in the direction it should go. Every time is just terrifying. It's not like you have to dive deep into it. Even the way you just said it, where it's like, this is what the media is talking about, ScoMo's pissed off. It's like, what's really being said there? The media sets the agenda. And it's just like, it's...
I don't think in this case the media is following the agenda. The media is following whatever is currently happening and what they think will get the most amount of viewership.
Right.
Currently, there's no fucking war brewing in Asia Pacific. So there is genuine war brewing in Ukraine right now.
Yeah.
So from the media's perspective, I can talk about China.
They're just reporting.
That would help Scott Morrison.
Yeah.
That would help the right wing. But it might not get me that many views. I'm going to focus on Ukraine at the moment. And as soon as something happens in Taiwan, then, or like anywhere else, then the media will shift focus. Which is why big players in politics sometimes artificially create things.
Yeah.
So, like, this is a conspiracy theory, but...
You say the right wing, though. There are obviously people in the right wing that are not that might have Labor's stance on with China, surely.
Very few, I think.
Right, okay.
Very, very few.
Right.
In Australia's case, most of the public is anti-China, too.
Yeah.
Which is an uphill battle that pragmatic people would have to fight over here because it's just... Yeah, the situation is bad for rationality at the moment. So most of the right wing is really hawkish on China. The other thing is Australian politics, Australian state institutions, judiciary, political parties have been heavily infiltrated by the U.S. This is something that we don't talk about. We're afraid of China. ASPI? Not just ASPI, everything about it. Like, our links with the U.S. are so strong that they have infiltrated literally every aspect of our society, which we're comfortable with because we trust them and everything. But one of the big disadvantages of that is that they, on the whim, can control our policy really quickly.
Right. So imagine if all our lights was on, as we said that.
It could. Yeah, but I tell you one thing. If you were in the parliament, whether you be Labour or Liberal, you would have to toe US's line. Because you know what we are afraid of with China? We're afraid that they will buy infrastructure, they will penetrate our society so much that we wouldn't have an option to go against them, which is exactly what they're not telling you, is exactly the situation that the US has on us. We do not have the option to go against the US, which is why the entire right wing and a dominant part of the left wing is hawkish on China. And the public is hawkish on China. Our media is, in many regards, controlled by the U.S. Like, Murdoch might be Australian, but he is really he's an American-supported global media man. Yeah, so he might be Australian, but he's not really Australian.
Yeah. Fox. He started Fox News.
Yeah. So what we're afraid of that China is going to do, but no one tells you is that America has already done to us. So it's just there's very little room in our government to go against that, which is why China is doing all of that shit that the ASIO chief is talking about, because they're saying beat fire with fire. If we want Australia to be neutral, their entire political base, all their state institutions are completely controlled by the US. How do we reach a favorable outcome for us? Well, you try to do the fucking same. You try to do exactly what the U.S. is, slowly chip it away, which is bad news for us because that means we're an epicenter of a Cold War, which is why I'm saying the future is uncertain, my friend.
Croatia's looking mighty warm right now. Dual citizen.
Is Croatia's weather good?
Yeah.
Oh shit! The main man is here.
He's here. Perfect timing.
Actually,
and he's drunk. Oh no, he's attacking me. He's drunk. We kicked him off. La 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 la. That's a callback for anyone watching. You want to say hello? Come down here. Get down. Okay, this is live, people. What? Show me.
what shirt?
Did you see any of our friends?
Embarrassing.
What was embarrassing? Oh, I'm excited. I didn't notice shit. You just missed it?
Jesus Christ. No, I don't have it.
Well, explain it.
The whole time. No, you said it.
No. I'll just. There's a mic.
We'll get. What happened? Tell us about the show. Post show. We weren't kidding, people. He's back.
They were a good crowd. They were in something that's basically a hidden economics/history lecture. Well, I don't know, but like the sound guy was saying, didn't you hear that? There was cunts at the back that wouldn't shut up the entire show. Fucking cunts. Why were they allowed in?
Jesus, we're live.
Yeah, well, why are they being so rowdy?
I don't know, because they would have fun.
Yeah, well, then why the fuck did they get... My show isn't fun. There's no fun there.
Well, some people disagree. And they gave me some garlic bread.
That's how you truly know that you're a comedian, when you're just being like, stop laughing. No, I'm serious. Which there was actually a few moments like
Comedian.
That. It was amazing because the jokes that I thought would land did not, and then me just being like, yeah, so in Cambodia, probably 350,000 people died. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Must have been very drunk.
Those fucking... little fucking HSP cunts at the back. So they were the ones screwing it up, were they?
It's dead, unfortunately.
It's dead.
In Maybush.
Hey, they gave me some garlic bread, so they're okay with me.
That's why you let him in. Did they pay?
Yes, they paid. They had tickets.
Fucking bastards. But anyway, that happened, and then, man, my shirt was so sweaty. And I couldn't do anything, and it was just there. And
The wrong color. The wrong
color.
Shit, that is a killer.
It
the
is
wrong
a
colors
killer.
Dude, you know what? Next time that happens, I've got the best solution. Go, what's his name? Bert, whatever. Just take it off. No shirt. You can't see sweat.
That would be kind of cool, actually. Just be like, yeah, and then just be like, that's it. Yeah, he's right. He's right. That's not bad. That's not bad.
All that
Fuck,
P90.
that's not bad.
All that P90. Show them your abs.
P90
This
abs.
motherfucker's got proper abs. No one gets to see them.
Yeah, look, it's not a bad call.
Get it off.
Get it off. Yeah, well, taken.
Did anyone... look, fuck it. It's all part of the show. I mean, it's a comedy show, so it's like, that's funny. Who gives a fuck, right? You're not doing...
Look, it is embarrassing when you're like...
Yeah, who gives a shit? This man hasn't been known to be like, oh, wait a sec, and it's something that embarrasses me. Well, I can't be having this in Friendlyjordies. No.
It's not that. I don't mind it. If it like works as a gag, that's fine. But I think people were staring horrified while there was like drunk lebs at the back being like, lay off
the lebs. There was a lot of people there.
With those lebs.
There was a lot more people
Why was
there.
he hanging out? Why are you... That was them.
What
that was
that?
those pricks. I swear to God, it was.
Conspiracy theorist.
I told
Everything
you.
is wrong. It's
What
these
did
five men.
Before you came, he told me that there were these lebs that were like really cool. They were wearing fanny packs and
cool.
And
That's an interesting choice of word.
I was like, they're gonna hate that fucking show.
And what are they doing?
What are they doing there?
Why are they there?
They're like Yilmaz.
And so they were causing disruptions.
Yeah, they were causing trouble as usual.
Yeah. Well, they were funny. I'll tell you that much.
Well, that's true. Like, yeah, look, I suppose there's like two comedy shows happening at once.
Yeah, exactly.
There's only one spotlight.
I know. It's just my mic. Did you see our friends? Anyone? Or they all left?
Was Angie there?
Gabe was there. My brother was there. I don't know who's that.
I think fucking Angie was there.
Really?
Because there's a little teaser, and it is a teaser. Miss Love makes a guest star appearance in the show.
Rare.
And when he did, I was looking at her the whole time thinking, I'm pretty sure I saw you at Macca's funeral. And then she just goes, oh, Miss Love, no.
It must have been her then. I mean,
Why, Miss?
Comedy, that's
and
why.
I don't know why. I can't answer.
Because...
Did anyone come up to you after the show?
Yeah, did you just...
One guy came up afterwards.
Oh, so everyone else
And he
left.
demanded more of you two on the main channel.
I know that guy. He talked to me too. The blonde one. Kind of blonde guy.
The fucks with this. This is a fucked thing that I hear as well. Could we just get some basic manners here, right?
You want
Why is it socially acceptable to heckle the entire show and then afterwards say, that was me, I was heckling the whole time?
Oh my God. Do you know
Why would you draw attention to that? Just do one or the other. Like, don't heckle or hide
What
it.
did you say to that person?
I just looked at him horrified, and then he just stared back, not being able to read my face.
Fuck, it was a Christo came.
Yeah, pretty much. It was another one.
Fuck up. I think it's because of fucking Jimmy Carr. He ruined it. All of those comedians that do crowd work, and there's some that would openly say, I want people to heckle me. And it also, like, a lot of those people that do that are like, they're not smart at all, man. They think they think you'd be proud of it, but they don't realize they've ruined your entire rhythm.
Was it annoying?
You're now thinking about them instead of your point. You've made the show less funny. You've ruined everyone's vibe by doing it.
It sucks.
But they don't know that because they don't realize what they think. You're just like a cool guy that goes up on stage, cracks jokes, funny things, and done. They don't know that you've been preparing this for a year. Writing the entire thing.
No appreciation of the art. I tell you, you're absolutely right, though, Ali. It is that. And you know what, though? I've just kind of realised that the best way to deal with hecklers in that show, it took me years, is because it basically is just doing a high school lesson.
Yeah.
You just have to spend yourself like a teacher. You just have to talk over the top of people, just being like, and the really interesting thing is, Michael, pay attention. Like, you act like that.
But you're really good at just being like, huh? You shut the fuck up and then continue. You're pretty good at just like, he handles hecklers very, very, very well. I've never seen
I feel like sometimes I'm a bit too harsh. Like someone today was just like,
fuck him.
Oh, I know who Cicero is. And I was like, yeah, that's because you're a cunt. And then I looked down and it was a 50-year-old man. I was like, he doesn't deserve that.
Spot on. No, he deserves
You're a cunt.
Yes.
All right.
Dude, what are you talking about? That's gold.
He probably was too.
Yeah, he probably was.
Well, I don't know
Let's
him,
be
maybe.
honest.
He was wearing a bro shirt, though. Jesus Christ. That's a fan. I felt really bad.
Look, they know what they're getting in for. They get getting themselves into. So were the big moments good? You know, I don't want to say it. I don't want to spoil it. No spoilers.
The big moment was huge.
Yeah, they thought,
I felt like Obama at just one of those, like, teachers' unions where there's all these wet 50-year-old women while he's sitting there just being like, don't tell me that striking's bad for the economy. What's bad is having teachers that can't afford their rent. It was that. It was one of those moments.
You know what's crazy? Because I sort of saw just like 2 seconds at the beginning, I just looked around and I'm like, this is the crowd that's going to appreciate that gag. Like,
you've seen that gag work in Adelaide and Sydney now.
Yeah.
What's the reaction like? What happens when the first bit happens, and what happens when the second?
I haven't seen either of them.
What you were with Jordan?
I left. I didn't see the show. I'm here. What are you talking about?
No, like I mean, when you were in Adelaide with him.
Oh, in Adelaide. Yeah, it was pretty.
Is it like
it was pretty
horrified?
Nah, it was pretty chill. Like the first one was extremely chill, and the second one was like more rowdy. I feel like Adelaide is a bunch of like royals living there. They're very like quiet, whereas Sydney is, you know. I mean, it's called Adelaide for fuck's sake, but like Sydney is just this
all walks of life.
It's the riffraff. It's the fucking all walks of life. And they've all come in. They want to fucking party. Like, dude. They're a rowdy
crowd.
Yeah, they think they're at a Cursor concert.
They think it's a rowdy crowd. It's not a tough crowd. It's a rowdy crowd.
I've noticed this, that Sydney will only laugh or clap if they really think you deserve it. Like, they've got this whole thing of like, I really know comedy and I'm going to only give you this appreciation if you truly deserve it. Whereas Melbourne is the opposite. They're really, they would support you. Even if they think you're doing badly, they cheer on, they laugh,
dude. That's definitely
yeah.
You've nailed it, Ali.
And Adelaide is just happy that you're there. I think that's the difference.
Yes, but he's also right as well that they're just quite polite about it, and they think they're going to an Oscar Wilde play.
Yeah,
and Sydney thinks they're going to one of those playhouse plays for kindergartners.
Yeah, and they dude, the Lebanese guy's like, "Wait, can we eat in here?" And I was like, "I don't know," and he's like, no, come on, like, we're going to bring some food. I'm like, what? Like, I'm like, dude, I don't know. I need to, like, get people in. I can't, like, be having a one-on-one conversation with you about if you can specifically bring... And they brought so many plates of food in.
Fucking hell.
So much. It was like pasta, schnitties,
Jesus,
chips, wedges,
fuck.
more wedges, garlic
ganoush.
bread. And they bribed me with garlic bread. And I took it with good merit.
So that's why they were in. You got bribed.
No,
with the
they had
cheapest food imaginable.
No, they had tickets. I saw they had tickets.
Ugh, man, I feel real. Fuck, how bad would it be being Super Bowl, eh?
Why?
Because that's your whole audience. Is
It
just
would be
Yilmaz's.
rowdy.
That's
But
it.
they were
he's not talking
howling.
about Rome and Cicero and Julius Caesar. He's like, you drive a ute because you're bogan, and you drive a Mercedes because you just made some money, didn't you? Like, that's their entire thing. And all these
understudy to it.
Yeah.
Understudy. All I heard when I was leaving was it was a photo of you like Psy the Great, and one of them was like, "Oh, is that the Gangnam Style guy?" Oi, oi, oi. And I was like, no, I left. I was like,
fuck.
And then at that point, I was like, I should just turn around. There's a way better show happening behind me.
And you were right. Can't compete
But all
with
in,
it.
but all in all, all in all, it was good. You enjoyed it?
Yeah, I think all in all it was good. I think that if that was Angela, she was horrified the whole show.
Great.
She was just a mini...
Teacher, basically.
Yeah, teeny mini teacher. Yeah. If she's not a teacher now, I'll be very surprised.
I think she... Yeah, me too.
Imagine if she's a member of the Liberal Party. I never noticed.
Have you ever been...
It's like, shame, disgusting. Caesar was good, fuck you.
This man doesn't care about your housing prices.
Expose your emails. How much do you make? Hypocrite. Yeah.
Have you seen the other opposite of it, where people that are in the crowd, even if they like slowly whisper or something to the partner next to them, like someone's like, "Stop talking! There's a show going on. Security, take him out."
Fuck. Okay, you know why? Because they were libs with bum bags. That's why no one was doing
No. That happened to me in Adelaide. I was at the merch desk talking to someone, and a portly man with a big beard just went, div, and just went like, "Can you guys please be quiet? I can't hear the show right now." I'm just like, this is awkward for both of us.
So you were the lib.
Yeah.
At my own show.
I kid you not.
I was the lib.
I pay you to be there.
Correct.
This is a true story.
Hey, I sold the merch. I get the job done, eh?
You got some of the HSP for me?
And that is me just being like, where the fuck's the schnitties? That literally happened. I was like, where the fuck's the food at this place? This is bullshit.
What the fuck? What have to pay money for it?
That's so fucking outrageous, really.
What?
I'm still more angry at the libs because there's 5 U's there, but still.
Well, look, that's probably why I liked them.
Yeah, kindred spirits. You care about food a lot.
That's right. Don't care about
various ethnic concerns.
Yeah.
Bread.
Probably when Trump came up, they were like, yeah, fuck yeah, strong man.
For sure. Like, good guy, bro. Funny guy.
Funny.
No,
Well, they're not wrong.
I'm very keen to hear some of the responses. But look, I would have loved to have
I'll tell you what, so far they've been good.
Sick. I would have loved to have seen the show. Man, I've realized more and more with comedy. I mean, I knew this, but so much depends on the crowd. I reckon the show's 20%. The other 80 is the crowd. You could, like, that crowd, you could have gone up there and improvised the show, and they would have
loved
classic
that.
Geordies.
I noticed that about, this is always the thing that's annoying. You after a while, you realize there's kind of like 4 or 5 different crowds, right? But it takes you about 15 minutes to figure out which crowd it is.
Oh, yeah.
So you're doing one style because you're just using the imprint of the previous crowd, which was the Adelaide crowd. So I realised that I have to be quite ABC presenter.
Yeah, the royal family. You were performing to the royal family.
Performing to the royal family, so I was making sure that it was clear and enunciated. But then they didn't want that. They wanted Miss Taylor sitting there being like, this guy, shut up. This guy here, his name was Marius.
Yeah, it's Sydney.
Does anyone know that guy's name? Yep. Yeah, okay, all right. Just pay attention.
Yeah, one of the Hughesy sort of just like, shut up. Fucking hell. Like, and I wanted it. It works. I don't know. That you get swept up in the crowd. Like, you get swept up in what they're feeling. You become part of that. So it's hugely depends. Like, your test shows was what? Like 40 strange young people with, weren't really there for a comedy show, were they? Don't know what they were there for, and it was reflected in their in how they responded. It's huge. It's really really fascinating. It's really cool.
Crowd psychology is endlessly fascinating.
If you experience that, I can't remember which comedian it was, but like some big American comedian was saying that the greatest feeling ever is, particularly when you're doing an arena where there's like thousands of people, when the entire arena becomes one audience, like it's just one person where they're all reacting exactly the same way, as if they've already seen it and know it by cue. And he's like, it happens sometime, but when that happens, that show just freaking kills it.
No, he's definitely right. And I think that's one comedian that I used to speak to said that, which was a lot of the time when you go on stage, he swears it's like a subconscious psychic thing. The audience decides together what audience they're going to be.
Yeah.
During the show. Sometimes they're like a very well-behaved audience. Sometimes they're like, yeah, take it off. That audience.
Yeah.
It depends.
Yeah, it totally depends.
Really fucking depends. But it's like, it is incredible that the crowd actually does become one mind. And even if they are a mind that is scattered and whatever, they're all behaving the same way.
Yes, yeah. And they influence each other.
That's what's amazing about it, isn't it?
It's like this contagious thing where they start to kind of influence each other. That's what happens with me. Like, I'll go to a place and be like, you'll start to sort of feed off what everyone else is putting out. And rowdiness is infectious.
Rowdiness leads to more rowdiness. So this is a true story, miss. And I was at one of those shitty comedy shows. It was in Surrey Hills in one of those dingy apartments. They've set it up, right? And so there's about like literally 20 people, or maybe 30 people as the audience members.
Yeah, this was just me. Yeah.
And there's these up and coming comics that are like doing it, right? So one of them is on stage. The guy who's next to me.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I was with someone, but like there was a guy who I met who I'd known. I think you might also know him.
Right.
He worked at FBI.
He
became a band manager for a little bit.
Yeah, I think I do know the guy, yeah.
Yeah, so that guy was there, right? So I was like, oh, what are you doing? He's like, oh, just chilling. Anyway, so we sit down. He's right there. This other guy behind me, poor guy, has a cough, right? So he would cough, like during the scale.
Yeah.
And this guy, he would look at me, the band manager guy goes like, what the fuck is this guy about? And I was like, yeah, I know, right? But I'm just thinking, poor guy has a fucking cough, dude. Just calm down.
Yeah.
And so the same thing would happen, and then the guy at some point go and the band manager again would, at this point, would look back. He's like, hey, can you not? And the guy is like, this doesn't end here. I swear to God, true story.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, oh, yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. And he does that, and he's just like, okay. Like, literally, 8 minutes go by, and he goes, and this guy gets up and says, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Also disrupting the show, by the way. And the girl that I was with, is like, is he your friend? I was like, I know he's an acquaintance.
Amazing.
Anyways,
You gotta
and so
respect it, man.
You gotta respect it.
Yeah,
fourth time, he goes, this band manager gets up, goes to security, like, throw him out. Pretending that he's just an audience member. He's got no power in that situation. So he's like, what's he doing? He's like, so the security, so I'm hearing the conversation, and the security guy's like, what's happening? He's like, he's disrupting the entire show. He's been doing it. I've given him warnings. The security guy's like, he comes up and he says, the guy who's coughing is like, you got to cut it out. You're disrupting the show.
Yeah.
And
the great comedy that's happening is probably some guy being like,
and the guy's like,
now on to my mom. This is my mom.
Like, I've thought of killing hookers. And he's doing his bit, right, when this entire thing is happening.
Jesus.
And then the guy who's coughing, he just gets up and leaves.
Now
that is extreme, is what I'm saying.
He fucking left.
He left.
I don't know whose side I'm on. It's too confusing. I like them all.
I like them all too. I really sympathise with Ali's perspective, however, that like, I think that was a bit of an overreaction to someone trying to conceal their... Like, trying. And all he can.
Yeah, and you can't really control that. Like, I don't think he's doing... Who goes to a show and is like, time for me to have my fun? Like, no one's doing it.
No one's doing that.
Actually, there's probably some
Maybe
people doing
someone.
that.
Hey, speaking of, Gabe, I assume, went to the show.
He did.
because I've gotten an
Finally.
exclusive text
I've
from
been
someone from the
waiting.
House of Love. In fact, the founder of the House
I've
of
been
Love.
waiting for his deep analysis.
This is better than Adelaide Advertiser. But go on.
Well, it is. It's more weighty. It definitely is.
It's more weighty. He sent me. He's messaged me too, so I might have read it. You go first.
Prepare yourself. This is his review. Just in case you're wondering at home if you should go. Listen up, you fat fuck. We're closing in. Heat-seeking smooches. Rent-seeking gooches. Beekeeping pooches. Vino vidi vicious, bitch. This is one of our good friends.
Yeah, what is cryptic message? It's like,
Nobody's messaged me. What? I just opened this. This is hectic.
Hectic.
Listen to this. He sent the Port Adelaide Power Theme Song 2020. I don't.
22 years.
Yeah, but like Port Adelaide. That's why. I don't. Who the fuck? So first of all, our AFL is pretty fringe, really, in this circle. And Port Adelaide, you mean maybe just send the Swans on? We en route. Tell Jordan that's the entry for me and Gogs. We're going to bring the tattoo gun and some celebratory champagne. Yo, we're on our way. Can you let us in? So I think they're like outside. I just saw it.
oh, here.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to be a fun upload. If you want to listen to that, you know what you have to do. You have to pay money to listen to evil Miss Love, basically. The scariest man we know trying to give us all tats. Ali, you're first. He can warm up on you.
And on that note,
Holy shit.
you have to say goodbye.
Fuck! Oh, no.
They're calling. This is fucked.
No. Wait until we're off here.
Yeah. Join on the up late for some face tattoos, I suppose.
become a patron.
Thanks for joining us.
Listen to the pre-show and listen to the up late.
It's been swell.
This is why we need an up late to have a video. No, you're ruining the vibe, dude. You're gonna ruin the up late.
Yeah.
Cameras make you feel cautious.
Oh, they're saying film it. No, we don't. We film enough, dude. We're fucking like we don't want to be literally the Truman Show. Like, can we not like have? No, we're not doing that. It's not. Give us a bit of pride. Like, is this not enough? Is 3 hours of us not enough? That is then re-uploaded onto several platforms that you need us for the one more intimate time of our things. Like, no, intimate here. Here's your fucking camera. No, tell us about your feelings, dickhead.
No.
It's not happening. You can't. Sorry, it's not happening.
Become a patron and listen to the up late.
Yeah.
And
at your own disclosure.
and watch the pre-show. The pre-show was recorded. Anyway, see you guys. Bye.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye. Thank you for your time.